It's great to be here. Really excited to chat with everyone about App Store optimization, how important it is for your app, and really how it applies to brands and apps that are at scale. First, a little bit about me. I've been in the mobile marketing space for a very, very long time. I launched some of the very first apps for the very first color devices in North America, back when you had to work with your network operator to get your flip phone to download apps. And have seen this really come full circle with the App Store and the Google Play Store, now that developers have a lot more control around what they do. So I've been in this space for a very, very long time, and about 12 years ago at this point, I got together with my co-founder, and we started a company called GummyCube. GummyCube is literally one of the first App Store optimization companies in the world. If you were to Google App Store optimization when we started it, you literally would not get results related to mobile. So we've been in this for a very, very long time, and I think what makes GummyCube very unique is that, one, yes, we're a technology company, and we have incredible platforms that can deliver market intelligence and search optimization data, but also conversion optimization and A/B testing right alongside that, because we recognize that App Store optimization is not just one thing. It's actually a collection of activities, and you could do the best keyword optimization in the world. You could rank for more keywords, but if you don't convert well, you're not going to rank well for those keywords. These things are intrinsically linked, and our technology addresses 360 degrees of that problem for our customers. The other unique thing about GummyCube is we recognize, one, not a lot of people have experience with ASO, and two, App Store optimization involves a lot of data. And nobody likes getting data thrown over in their living room like a bucket of Lego without any kind of map on what to build or how to build it. So we provide a lot of services for our customers to help them execute, from search to conversion to creative to helping with reporting and analytics. If you have an app at scale as a brand, there are a lot of external factors that can affect your distribution in the store, depending on where you get your other traffic from, or seasonality, things of that nature. And we know how to filter those out, right, and really understand what all of the layers of your organic look like. So we provide the help too. As Brett said when he started, we really believe that the app is the destination, right? If you look at where people go to consume content, to buy products, to look at media, to talk to their friends, it's not the computer anymore. We're past the days of AOL, although that was my childhood and I loved those days. And everybody is on their mobile phone now. 63% of all internet traffic comes from mobile devices today, and revenue growth grew 95% between 2019 and 2022. So people are transacting on mobile devices more and more and more, and they're doing it inside the app, and e-commerce revenue is skyrocketing. The other thing that I think is important related to that is that the app stores are where users discover whatever they're looking for today. So just like in the early days of the internet, you had to go to the Yahoo directory and you had to find the website you were looking for, today people are discovering brands and products and features that they're interacting with in the store. The App Store is not just a vehicle to kind of type in a brand name and then download what you think you already want. More than 50% of search queries in the App Store and Play Store are actually people looking for features and products and services. Those queries typically look like what you'd see in e-commerce, right? A little bit more long tail than web. I think one of the challenges is that a lot of the data out there about ASO is not so good. There are a lot of tools out there that use data from paid search to determine search volume. And when you do that, it kind of misappropriates a lot of downloads toward brand, because people tend to bid on their competitors' brands, and you end up getting kind of data that doesn't really match. There's more than 500 million people every week that browse the App Store and Play Store, and easily, if you look between the two stores, there are 4 to 5 billion monthly active users when you look at Apple and Google's data. So this is not just a marketplace, this is where your audience is, and it's very important that brands, really anyone with an app that wants to scale, look at these two stores as where you get market share. Right? It's not just about keyword optimization. It's about what your footprint is and how much market share you have compared to your competitors. So I want to talk a little bit about App Store optimization now, for those who might not know, but also how we approach App Store optimization. GummyCube is credited with inventing really one of the two ways that you go about doing this. We call our method the e-commerce method, because we believe the App Store and Play Store have way more in common with Amazon.com than they do web search in terms of user behavior and how the store algorithms have been built. So number one, when you look at App Store optimization, It involves search rankings. It involves visibility. It involves improving your conversion. And part of that really is about targeting relevant keywords in the store. But targeting keywords, it's not like the web where you want to find the one keyword to rule it all, like it's the Lord of the Rings. It's about how much distribution can you get in the store, and how can your updates stimulate Apple and Google to merchandise you in ways that really scale. And you do that by manipulating the content on your store listing. And it's important that you update that content regularly to stay relevant and score high and rank well. You want to utilize the product page to also create relevancy. Apple and Google, even if you want to run a search ads campaign, don't care as much about what you're willing to bid as much as Apple and Google care about whether you're relevant, right? Your share of voice, your access to traffic in these stores is determined by how well you convert. It's determined by whether you're relevant to these things that consumers are looking for. And at the end of the day, your conversion rate determines your rankings. A lot of people run A/B testing. They try to do conversion optimization on their store listing. And that's a great thing to do to improve the yield and reduce the cost of your paid user acquisition. But what a lot of people don't know is that Apple and Google don't look at your store listing conversion rate to determine ranking. They look at your search conversion rate to determine ranking, one cohort of keywords at a time. So you have to optimize for both of these areas. And the reality is, if you do this well, you acquire more organic users. That pushes down your effective cost per install. And then you can scale more if you're running paid marketing and really have much more market share and audience power. And that's what you want when you're doing ASO. So the value of a great store presence can't be underestimated. 70% of all app installs in the world come from inside the store. Apple and Google have trained people, even when they see commercials, to pick up their phone and search. That's the user behavior. Incredible story that I had. We were working with one customer who was running YouTube campaigns. And the YouTube campaigns had a cost per install of $160 per install. And so they turned the campaign off, and when they did that, all their search rankings went down. And the reason that happened was because even though people weren't taking the action on the ad, they picked up the phone, they searched, not for the brand, but for related keywords. And when they did that, the conversion went up and the rankings went up. Their CPI would have actually been about $3 if they had measured that, right? So it's a really big deal. Winning search is important, right? Organic installs are the leading driver of quality users. And when you do ASO right, you're not paying for all those rankings. It's not about how many search ads you buy. It's about getting Apple and Google to index you and boosting your conversion where it really matters. When you think of the App Store and Play Store, they're really merchandising engines, right? So number one, the stores reward updates. So like if you're a retailer, let's say you're Macy's, right? If you're a retailer, you don't want to have winter coats on sale during the summer in your store window. It won't sell, right? Well, Apple and Google's algorithms are smart, not super smart though. And so like if you haven't updated your store listing in 6 months, they're going to penalize you by giving you a lower relevancy score. And it's not about whether you update the app or update the code. It's about whether the content is different and whether it's updated and whether it's relevant. The other thing is search patterns change fast. This is a merchandising-driven store, right? What you do at Christmas time, what you do during the holidays, what you do during the summer and the fall impacts stores differently. If you're a productivity app, the back-to-school season is really important. If you're an e-commerce app, Black Friday is your holy grail, and you prepare for that starting in October. So all those things are important, and the universal marketing principles apply, right? You want to be relevant to what people search for. Like if you're thinking about marketing, because so much in the App Store is driven through search, it's about understanding your features, how do people find those features, how do you become relevant for and rank well for those features, and you even carry that through to your creative, because the average user who's browsing the store gives your app about 6 seconds before they scroll by it like it's an Instagram feed before they decide to download. There's not a research step in downloading apps. That's why we all have 500 apps on their phone, but we only use the first 2 pages of them, right? We want to get our app to be the one on those first 2 pages that's used every day. Competition evolves as well. Apple and Google re-rank apps in the store every 24 hours. It's not like the web. It doesn't take 6 months for Apple and Google to crawl you. Any agency or person who tells you it takes 6 months to report on your rankings is not telling you the truth, right? They change every day. But they change not just based on what you do. They change based on what your competition does. Your screenshots could convert really well, but if your competitor runs an A/B test and deploys something the next day that converts 1% better than you, your rankings decline, not just for one keyword, but for keywords related to that entire audience, because typically you see the audience behave the same way. So it's important to keep that in mind as you're updating, and relevance is really the driver of growth in the App Store and Play Store. And relevance is a concept that really exists in e-commerce. If you think about the way Amazon.com works, right? It's not just about the search results, it's about the recommendations that are made. Hey, you added this to your shopping cart, someone like you added to the shopping cart, we're going to start recommending things. Apple and Google do that, but they do it within search. There's a concept here of keywords and rankings you earn that you're not even targeting. If you convert very well and you know how to update your store listing well, the successful apps that we work with can rank for 2,000 or 3,000 keywords in a store at a time. And a lot of people, when I say that, they kind of scratch their head and they're like, wait, we can only target 10 or 20. How do you do that? Well, we have a platform called DataCube, which I'll show you in a second, and that platform can detect your entire store presence in the store. It's not limited to say, show me the keywords I want to track. And when you do that, you actually really understand where your traffic is coming from, which is important. So relevance is important. The other thing I think is just important to note is there's only 20% overlap between web and mobile search trends. So like if you're doing like web SEO or you have a website component to your business, people not searching for the same things generally. DataCube is our technology that I mentioned. DataCube is different than a lot of other ASO technologies because it addresses search market intelligence and conversion intelligence all in one, and then we can even help you A/B test. The data for keyword volume is proprietary for us. We're not just sourcing it from Apple search ads or sourcing it from web search like a lot of other tools do. We're able to really understand kind of between the lines what's going on the organic side. The other thing is, as I mentioned, we detect everywhere you appear in the store. And because we can do that, we can give you a much better sense of where your traffic is coming from. We can even help you when you're thinking about conversion optimization, target an audience and a feature and figure out how to convert better for that audience or a feature. Important if your app does more than one thing, which many of our apps do. So DataCube is very different. It can even show you your competitors and how they've run A/B testing in the past and which A/B tests help them convert better. So there's a lot of intelligence there. And speaking of the conversion journey, right? I mentioned this earlier. It takes 6 seconds for users to complete this journey. In the Apple App Store, where Apple has integrated get buttons throughout the search result, 80% of organic users actually download right from the search result. They never go to your store listing, right? So it really is like winning the Instagram feed more than anything else. And that's why merchandising is important. It's also why when you're designing your screenshots, don't look at them in Photoshop. Look at them when they're shrunk down to about that size, because that's what users have to read and acknowledge. Apple and Google, just like what everyone here is doing for their apps to improve personalization and engagement, is working on the App Store and Play Store to improve personalization and engagement inside the stores. They're doing things like CPP and Live Ops, where now you can have dozens of different store listings tied to your marketing campaigns, tied to features of your app. If you are a news organization, you can have a page for weather, for news, for local, for breaking, all of those things, and you can A/B test that to get the best results for every audience, which is important. And these experiences are always evolving. In addition to CPP and Live Ops, Apple introduced something called events. What a lot of people don't know, by the way, is when you're talking about retention and engagement of users, a lot of users who already installed the app on the phone, but maybe they're not on page 1 and page 2, maybe they haven't opened your app, they might forget they have it. And when they go to Spotlight Search and they search for whatever they're looking for, Apple is going to present them search results from their store. And if your app is already on the phone, they're going to cut out your screenshots, and your search result will be disadvantaged to competitors. And the only way to get over that is if you have an event running, where you get that space back and you have a banner, and it could be merchandising, seasonal, anything, but you want to get that space back to re-engage inside the store. We think the store listing is a gateway to your brand. This is where your audience exists today. And when you look at it, it's very important to update it. You don't want to be, unfortunately, I know a lot of people love the store, but you don't want to be like Claire's, where in the middle of the summer you have Christmas and holiday gear in the middle of the phone, because people notice that, and that can impact conversion by 10 or 15%. It's a really big deal when you don't update that. The other thing, and I think this is very important to EMEA in particular, is it's important to culturalize and localize, right? Apple and Google look at each territory or language as its own store. And so it should have its own target keywords, right? It should have its own data. You should A/B test screenshots uniquely based on what the trends are and what the kind of culturalization preferences are for those stores. Uh-oh. There we go. So speaking of conversion optimization, there are ways to do this inside the store. You can use Google Experiments. You can use Apple Product Page Optimization. GummyCube has an incredible tool. No code. You don't have to integrate it. You don't even have to go and deploy something new in the store to run testing. That tool is called SplitCube. And with SplitCube, you can use a point-and-click interface to build a virtual store listing, drive test traffic in from your website or from a small Facebook campaign or wherever you get your traffic from, get behavioral data on how people interact with the page, and get conversion data on how people click the Get button on the pages that we host. And this works in the App Store as well as simulates the Google Play Store. People love this because sometimes you want to run experiments that are a little different than brand, but you want to gather data to talk to your team about what they miss out on. You can't do that in the live store. Sometimes you might have a new feature you're introducing, but you don't want to show it to the world. You can run a test like this and understand, is that feature something I want to prioritize because it's going to help my conversion? Lots of applications for this. So I think it's also important just to show some results. ASO produces results for big brands. For example, we worked with Sephora and scored a 44.2% improvement on the confidence interval for A/B testing, 30% actual increase in conversion. And we did this by using our more accurate search data to determine the way users were looking for a particular feature, and we changed the first 2 sentences of their short description. It wasn't even a big screenshot change, and that resulted in this kind of yield. Alignment with users should be your guide. And the more that is your guide, and the more you know you have accurate data, the more you're going to be successful. But it's important to understand not every tool out there has the same data. Carvana, this is a great US auto brand, 246% impression growth, 98% download conversion growth, major virtual auto dealer, right? And this was not their first optimization. We actually inherited them after someone else tried to help them, and then we were able to do this, which I think speaks to the efficacy of kind of our method. So finally, I just wanted to touch on this. App Store optimization is absolutely critical for brands, right? At the end of the day, the store is a place you should be battling for market share. You have competitors that are bidding on your brand because they want your traffic. And with more than 50% of all the search keywords, and by the way, you can validate this if you do a search on your phone and look at all the search suggestions Apple and Google produce, all the search suggestions are kind of long-tail phrases, and they're not usually brand-related. So more than 50% of the traffic out there can be had by feature-based search requests, right, and queries. You want to optimize toward that so you can win market share. And you want your brand-based traffic to stay the same or grow, but you want the new users you win who discover you that would not have otherwise found you to push that down over time, because you want to have a strong brand, but you want to find new users at the same time. So that's GummyCube. Really happy to take any questions that you have, and hope that was super useful.